The snow had stopped falling, but the cold hadn't. It clung to everything: the trees, the silent road, the lifeless air, and most of all, to her. Kara Lawrence lay half buried in the snow beside a deserted forest path, her body twisted at an unnatural angle. Her white ceremonial dress, once meant for her mating ceremony, was now soaked in blood and melting ice. Each breath she took came out in a faint cloud, weaker than the last. Her left arm, broken, her ribs, cracked. Her head throbbed from where it had slammed against a rock. None of that mattered anymore, because something far worse was killing her: the poison. Wolfsbane. It coursed through her veins, burning, paralyzing, trapping her wolf inside her own body. She tried to shift, tried to heal, but her wolf, her other half, was silent, too weak, too broken. "I'm sorry," Kara whispered in her mind. Sorry to the wolf that had always protected her. Sorry for failing. Sorry for trusting the wrong person. And the cruelest part of it all, the one who did this to her, was the one she loved. Just 3 days ago, everything had been different. Kara had been preparing for her future, her mating ceremony with Brent Hunter, the beta of the Crescent Moon Pack. He had been her childhood friend, her protector, her almost mate, the one she thought she would spend the rest of her life with. Safe, predictable, trusted. But trust can be the most dangerous illusion. It started with something small: a visit to his family's estate, a quiet afternoon meant to finalize the wedding arrangements. That's where she found the ledgers, hidden, carefully concealed. At first, it didn't make sense. The numbers didn't add up, accounts that didn't exist, money disappearing. But then she looked closer, and her stomach dropped. Widows, orphans, elderly wolves who could no longer hunt. The funds meant to protect them, gone, stolen, systematically, carefully, ruthlessly. The deeper she dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't a mistake. It was a system, a setup, a conspiracy. And at the center of it was Brent. She remembered confronting him, standing in that dimly lit study, her hands trembling, but her voice steady. "You need to fix this," she had said. "Before the ceremony, before anything else. This isn't just wrong, it's a crime." Brent had looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in her life, she didn't recognize him. The warmth in his eyes, gone. In its place was something cold, something calculating. "You're very noble, Kara," he said softly, "and very foolish." She felt it then, the shift, the danger. But she still believed, still hoped, that somewhere inside him, the boy she once knew was still there. "I won't accept your mark until this is fixed," she said. "And if it's not, I'll go to the Alpha King." That was her mistake, because in that moment, Kara stopped being his future and became his problem. Because the girl fighting for her life in the snow was not just a victim, she was a survivor, a fighter, a future queen, and this was only the beginning. Chapter 2. Darkness didn't feel like death. It felt warm, soft, like sinking into something deep and quiet, where pain couldn't reach. Kara didn't know how long she had been there. Minutes, hours, days. Time had no meaning in the void. But slowly, something pulled her back. Pain, dull at first, then sharper. Her ribs, her arm, her head, and beneath it all, a strange heaviness in her chest. Her body was alive, and that didn't make sense. Her eyes fluttered open, firelight flickered against wooden walls, a ceiling above her, a bed beneath her, soft, warm, safe, too safe. For a moment, she just lay there, staring, trying to understand, trying to remember. Then it all came rushing back. The forest, the snow, Brent, the betrayal, the fall, the cold. Her breath hitched sharply. She tried to move. Pain shot through her body like lightning. A gasp slipped from her lips. "Don't." The voice came from the shadows, calm, controlled, commanding. Slowly, she turned her head, and there he was, sitting by the window, watching her. Elias Collins, even sitting still, power radiated from him. His presence filled the entire room, like a storm waiting to break. Dark hair, touched with silver at the temples, sharp features, carved with quiet authority, and his eyes, silver, cold, observant, seeing far more than they revealed. "You're awake," he said. Not a question, a statement. Kara swallowed, her throat dry. "How long?" Her voice was rough, weak. "2 days," Elias replied. "The healer says you're fortunate." He leaned back slightly in his chair. "Another hour in that snow, and we'd be having a very different conversation." Silence settled between them, heavy, measured, careful. Kara forced herself to sit up slightly. Pain protested immediately. Her arm was tightly bandaged, her ribs wrapped, her body barely held together. "You saved me," she said. The words felt small, insufficient. Elias didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood, walked over to the table beside the bed, poured a glass of water, then came back. He helped Kara sit up slightly, just enough for her to drink. His touch was steady, impassive, like he was doing a task, not offering comfort. "Yeah," he said simply. Then his eyes locked onto hers, sharp, unyielding. "Now you're going to tell me why." The air in the room shifted. Suddenly, the warmth faded, colder, more dangerous. Kara went still. "What do you mean?" she asked quietly. Elias crossed his arms. "We found you in the middle of the forest. Half dead," he said. "You were poisoned. Injured in a way that suggests you were thrown from a moving carriage." His voice remained calm. But beneath it, there was steel. "Someone tried to kill you." He took a step closer. "Who?" Kara's heart began to pound. This was the moment. She could lie. She probably should, because telling the truth would change everything. But deep down, she already knew. There was no going back. Not anymore. "Brent Hunter," she said. The name felt heavy on her tongue. "Son of the Crescent Moon Pack." Something flickered in Elias's eyes. Recognition, interest, and something darker. "You're the bride," he said. Again, not a question. "The one who disappeared before the mating ceremony." Kara let out a hollow laugh. "Disappeared?" There was no humor in her voice. "Is that what they're saying?" Elias watched her for a moment. Then slowly, he nodded. "They sent out search parties," he said. Kara shook her head weakly. "No," she whispered. "They didn't." Silence fell again. But this time, it was different. Heavier, because now, the truth was out. "Why?" Elias finally asked. "Why would a beta try to kill his own mate?" Kara closed her eyes. For a moment, she didn't want to answer, because saying it out loud would make it real. But she forced herself. "I found something," she said. "Evidence. Financial records, embezzlement, fraud." Her voice grew steadier. "Money stolen from pack members. The weak, the helpless." Elias's expression turned serious. "And you threatened to expose it." "Yes." "And he decided to eliminate you." "Yes." Elias exhaled slowly. He wasn't surprised, just confirmed. "Predictable," he said quietly. Kara looked at him. "Do you believe me?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. A small question, but the most important one. Elias held her gaze. "I don't believe in coincidences," he said. "And I don't believe a beta leaves his future mate in a snowstorm. Without a reason." A pause. Then, "But belief isn't enough." Kara frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "It means," Elias said calmly, "what you've told me is serious enough to start a war." The words hit her. "A war?" "Yes. Within the pack. Within the leadership. Within a power structure that's been in place for generations." He took a step closer. "And war requires proof." Kara's chest tightened. Then what are you saying? Elias tilted his head slightly. I'm saying you're alive, and that makes you valuable. The word lingered in the air. Valuable. Not safe. Not protected. Valuable. Kara went still. I'm not a bargaining chip. No, Elias said. You're evidence. The blunt truth stung, but it was real, and that made it hurt even more. What now? She asked. Elias didn't hesitate. Now we make a deal. Kara's breathing slowed. Careful, guarded. What kind of deal? Elias's silver eyes locked onto hers. Sharp, precise. I'll protect you, he said. I'll make sure no one touches you again. I'll give you the resources, the power, and the platform to expose Crescent Moon. A pause. Then, in return, the room seemed to shrink. The air grew heavy. In return? Kara echoed. You help me destroy them. Silence. Complete. Absolute. Kara stared at him, at this man, this alpha king, the one who had pulled her back from death, was offering her something even more dangerous. A war, a role, a purpose. And if I say no? She asked quietly. Elias didn't look away. Then you walk out, he said. I won't stop you. But you won't survive. Not a threat, just the truth. Kara looked down at her injured body, her broken arm, her weakened state, her shattered future. She had nothing left. No pack, no protection, no way back. Then she looked up again. At Elias. At the man who could save her. Or use her. Maybe both. What about the mate bond? She asked suddenly. For the first time, Elias paused. Just slightly. It exists, he said. But it hasn't been claimed. Hasn't been accepted. His voice remained controlled. It doesn't change the deal. But Kara felt it. A faint pull between them. An invisible bond. Silent. Waiting. So I'm just an asset? She asked. Elias stepped closer. Close enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence. Assets are protected, he said. Bait is thrown away. A pause. What do you think you are? Kara held his gaze for a long moment. Steady. Then she nodded. All right, she said. I'm in. Those words changed everything. Elias watched her for a moment, then gave a single nod. Good. He walked toward the door, but before leaving, he stopped. I don't believe in fate, he said, his voice softer now, more personal. But I'm glad I took that road. Then he left, leaving Kara alone. Alone, but not like before. Because this time, she made a choice. The one who once left her to die was someone she trusted, and now she's chosen to survive by trusting someone even more dangerous, the Alpha King. Chapter 3. The journey began before dawn. The sky was still dark, painted in deep shades of blue and black. Kara was being carefully helped into the car. Her body protested with every movement. Each breath sent a sharp pain through her ribs. Her bound hands throbbed with a relentless ache. But she said nothing. Pain had become familiar now. Predictable. Almost comforting. Because at least pain meant she was still alive. Outside, the cold air bit sharply. A layer of snow clung to the ground, like a warning, and standing beside the car was him. Elias Collins, seated atop a massive black horse, his posture straight, his expression unreadable, watching everything, controlling everything. Ready? He asked. Kara hesitated, not because she wasn't ready, but because she had no idea what she was stepping into. A new territory, a new life. A new war? No, she said honestly. Elias studied her for a moment. Then he nodded. Good, he said. If you were, I'd be worried. And in that very moment, the journey began. The carriage rolled forward slowly. Its wheels crunched against the frozen ground, packed with snow. The world outside moved in silence. Trees passed by like shadows, endless, cold, watching without a sound. Inside the carriage, Kara sat alone, wrapped in heavy blankets. Her thoughts were louder than anything outside. She replayed everything: Brent, betrayal, the fall, the snow, the moment she almost died. And then, Elias, the man who saved her, the man who made a deal with her, the man she now had to trust. Her fingers tightened slightly over the blanket. Trust. The word felt wrong now. Broken. Like it didn't even exist anymore. And yet, she had trusted again. Why? Because she had no other choice. Or because something inside her believed this time would be different. She didn't have an answer. Hours passed. The sun slowly rose, casting a pale light over the snow-covered fields. And still, the carriage kept moving. Sometimes, the door would open. Elias would glance inside, asking if she needed anything. Water, food, rest. Always practical, always keeping his distance. He never stayed long, never asked about her past, never tried to comfort her. And strangely, that made everything easier. Because there were no lies, no false warmth, no pretended kindness, just truth. Cold, clear, honest. And for the first time, Kara realized something. This man would never pretend to care. And maybe that was safer than someone who did. By afternoon, the surroundings began to change. The trees thinned out. The ground became more structured, more controlled. It was a boundary, a sign of power, of ownership. Kara leaned slightly toward the window, ignoring the pull of pain. She watched, observed, and then she saw it. Thornridge, rising from the earth like something ancient, untouchable. Stone walls stretched toward the sky, thick, impenetrable. A 4-story fortress of gray stone. Battlements crowned the top, watching everything below, like a silent predator. This wasn't just a home. This wasn't just packed territory. This was a kingdom, and at its center ruled the Alpha King. Kara's breath caught slightly, not out of fear, not entirely, but from realization. She had stepped into something far bigger than herself. The carriage slowed to a stop. The door opened. Cold air rushed inside. "Welcome to Thornridge," Elias said. His voice carried no pride, no arrogance, just fact. Kara stepped out carefully, her legs weak, her balance uncertain. But she didn't fall. She straightened, lifted her head, and looked around. Wolves. Everywhere. Warriors training in the courtyard, moving with precision, power, control. Others stood watching, their eyes fixed on her, curious, suspicious, measuring. She could feel it. Their judgment. The crescent moon girl, the outsider, the weak one who nearly died. But Kara didn't look away, didn't shrink, didn't break. She met their gaze, one by one, and held it, because she had learned something in the snow. Survival wasn't just about strength, it was about will. Elias watched her, silent, observing, and for the briefest moment, something shifted in his expression. Approval. Come, he said. She followed him inside. The interior of Thornridge was just as imposing. Stone walls, high ceilings, long corridors that echoed with every step. It felt old, powerful, unforgiving, like the man who ruled it. They walked in silence until they reached a large set of doors. Elias pushed them open. A room, warm, prepared, a bed, clean linens, medical supplies. You'll stay here until you recover, he said. Kara stepped inside slowly, looking around. This isn't a prison? She asked quietly. Elias leaned slightly against the doorway. No, he said. A pause. But it's not freedom either. Honest. Again, Kara nodded. I didn't expect it to be. Elias studied her for a moment, then stepped inside. You start training in 2 days, he said. Kara blinked. Training? Yes. I can barely walk. You will, he replied calmly. And when you do, you'll need to be ready. For what? Elias's eyes darkened slightly. For everything. The next days passed slowly, painfully. The healer came often, setting bones, binding wounds, monitoring her recovery. Kara said little, listened more, watched everything, and learned. Because even here, especially here, knowledge was survival. She learned the names of the warriors, the structure of the pack, the rules, the hierarchy, and most importantly, she learned about Elias, the Alpha King, a man feared across territories, respected, unchallenged, a leader who ruled with strength and strategy, a man who had never lost, and now he had chosen her, not as a mate, not yet, but as something else, an ally, a weapon. On the second night, Elias returned, as always, at exactly the same time, predictable, controlled. You're healing faster than expected, he said. Kara looked up from the book in her hands. A compliment? No. A beat. An observation. She smirked slightly, and for the first time, the tension between them shifted, just a little. You said training starts soon, she said. Yes. What exactly am I training for? Elias stepped closer. For the moment, he said quietly. When you stand in front of the wolves who tried to kill you. His eyes locked onto hers. And prove they failed. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Powerful. Kara felt something stir inside her. Not fear. Not doubt. Something sharper. Stronger. Determination. Good, she said. Because she wasn't the girl who died in the snow anymore. She was something else now. Something dangerous. And Thornridge was going to shape her into it. Chapter 4. Pain became her teacher. Not kindness, not patience, not comfort. From the moment Kara could stand without collapsing, her training began. There was no ceremony, no warning, no gentle start, just a knock on her door before sunrise, and a voice. Get up. Kara opened her eyes slowly, her body still sore, still healing, still fragile, but she didn't complain, didn't hesitate, because she understood now. Weakness was a luxury she no longer had. The training grounds were cold, the air sharp, the ground hard beneath her feet, and waiting for her was her first instructor, Roderick Boyd, a warrior, scarred, massive, built like a weapon. His eyes swept over her once, assessing, judging. This is her? He muttered. Kara heard it, ignored it, because she'd heard worse. Elias stood beside him, silent, observing. She'll be trained, Elias said. Not a request. Roderick nodded once, then looked at Kara. Good, he said. Because I don't train weak wolves. Kara met his gaze. Then I guess I'll have to stop being one. A flicker of something passed through Roderick's expression. Approval. Let's see if you survive the morning first, he said. The first lesson was simple. Stand, That was it. Stand without falling. Stand without shaking. Stand without breaking. It sounded easy. It wasn't. Every muscle in her body screamed. Her ribs burned. Her arm throbbed. But she stood. Minutes passed. Then more. Her legs trembled. Her breathing became uneven. Her vision blurred slightly. Still standing? Roderick asked. Yes. Good. Then he pushed her. Hard. Kara stumbled. Fell to one knee. Pain shot through her body. Again, he said. She looked up at him, anger flickering in her eyes. But she didn't argue. She stood. Again. This was how it began, and this was how it continued. Day after day. Pain. Failure. Frustration. And then progress. Roderick didn't go easy on her. Not once. He taught her how to fight. Not like a warrior, but like someone who had to survive. Strength wins battles, he told her once. But cunning wins wars. He threw her to the ground. Again and again. Your enemies won't be fair, he said. They won't wait for you to be ready. They won't care if you're injured. Kara pushed herself up, breathing hard, sweat mixing with cold air. Then I won't give them the chance, she replied. Her second instructor was different. Luella, graceful, calm, sharp in a different way. She didn't teach combat. She taught control. How to lead, she said. How to think. How to hold a pack together when everything is falling apart. Kara listened, learned, absorbed everything. How do you command respect? Kara asked one day. Luella smiled slightly. You don't, she said. You earn it. Then came Ula, ancient, wise, unforgiving. She taught Kara the laws of the packs, the politics, the alliances, the hidden rules that governed everything. This world, Ula said, is not built on strength alone. She tapped Kara's forehead. It's built on knowledge. And slowly, piece by piece, Kara began to change. The girl who had been thrown into the snow was disappearing. In her place, something stronger was forming, but the hardest lessons didn't come from the instructors. They came from him, Elias. Every night, at exactly the same time, they met. Dinner, a long table, too large, too empty. They sat at opposite ends, distance between them, measured, intentional. What did you learn today? He would ask. Kara would answer, detail by detail. He listened, always. And then, he challenged her. Why did you hesitate? I didn't. You did. Silence. You thought before acting, he continued. In a fight, that hesitation gets you killed. Kara clenched her jaw. I'm learning, she said. Not fast enough. Another night. What would you do if a pack member defied you? He asked. Punish them. How? Publicly. Wrong. Kara frowned. Why? Elias leaned forward slightly. Because fear creates obedience, he said, but not loyalty. Every conversation was like this. A test. A challenge. A lesson. And slowly, Kara began to understand him. Not completely, but enough. He wasn't cruel. He was precise. Everything he did had purpose. Even her training, even their distance, even the way he never touched her, unless necessary. Weeks passed. Her body grew stronger, her movements sharper, her mind faster. One morning, Roderick threw a punch, and this time, Kara blocked it. Clean. Fast. Silence followed. Roderick stepped back, studied her, then nodded. Again, he said. But this time, there was no doubt in his voice. That night, at dinner, Elias noticed. You've improved, he said. Kara smirked slightly. That sounds like a compliment. It's not. A pause. It's a fact. But something in his tone had changed. Softer, warmer, just slightly. Later that night, Kara stood by the window. Snow fell outside. Soft. quiet, just like that day, the day she almost died. She closed her eyes, remembering, feeling, and then a voice behind her. You're thinking about it. She turned. Elias stood there, closer than usual. How could I not? She said. Silence. Then, you survived, he said. Kara shook her head slightly. No, she replied. I was saved. Elias stepped closer. Survival isn't about how it happens, he said. It's about what you do after. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The training, the war, the past, just them, and the bond, stronger now, undeniable. You're not weak anymore, Elias said quietly. Kara held his gaze. I never was. A faint smile touched his lips. Rare, real. Good, he said, because soon she wouldn't just be surviving, she would be fighting. And when that moment came, she needed to be ready, because the war was coming, and Kara Lawrence was no longer the girl left to die in the snow. She was becoming something else, something stronger, something dangerous. Chapter 5. The night of the full moon arrived, quietly, too quietly. The sky was clear, the air still, and above it all, the moon hung bright and full, watching, waiting. Kara stood alone in her room, dressed in white. Again. But this time, it was different. The last time she wore white, it had been for Brent, for a future built on lies. Tonight, it was for something real, something dangerous, something permanent. Her fingers brushed the fabric lightly, smooth, clean, untouched by blood, a sharp contrast to the last dress she wore in the snow. You can still walk away. The voice came from behind her. Kara didn't turn immediately. She didn't need to. She knew who it was. Luella. You think I should? Kara asked quietly. Luella stepped closer, standing beside her, looking at her reflection in the mirror. I think, Luella said carefully, that this choice will define everything that comes after. Kara exhaled slowly. It already has, she replied, because the truth was simple. There was no going back, not to her old pack, not to her old life, not to the girl she used to be. That girl had died in the snow. What are you afraid of? Luella asked softly. Kara finally turned. Not fear, she said. Clarity. A pause. I know what this means. The bond. The mark. The connection. Forever. Luella studied her, then nodded. Then you're ready. The clearing was already filled when Kara arrived. Torches burned around the edges, casting golden light across the snow-covered ground. Wolves stood in a wide circle, silent, watching, waiting. At the center stood Elias, bare-chested, dressed in black ceremonial pants, his skin marked with old scars, each one a story, a battle, a victory. Power radiated from him, uncontrolled, raw, and when his eyes found hers, the bond reacted instantly. A pull, sharp, electric. Kara felt it in her chest, in her bones, in her soul. This wasn't choice anymore. This was instinct. She walked forward, slowly, steadily, every step echoing in the silence, every eye on her, judging, measuring, the crescent moon girl, the outsider, the one who dared stand beside their alpha king. But Kara didn't falter. She lifted her head, kept her spine straight, and walked directly to him. Elias extended his hand. She took it, and the moment their skin touched, the bond flared, stronger than ever before, alive, hungry, demanding. Ula stepped forward, her voice carrying across the clearing. Under the witness of the moon goddess, her words echoed, ancient, powerful, binding. Alpha Elias Collins claims Kara Lawrence as his fated mate. A pause. Does anyone challenge this bond? Silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Because no one could. A fated bond was absolute. Ula turned to Kara. Do you accept? The question hung in the air. Heavy, final. Kara looked at Elias. Really looked at him. At the man who saved her, trained her, challenged her. The man who saw her not as weak, but as something worth fighting for. The bond pulsed between them, waiting. And then, I accept. The words rang clear, strong, certain, and everything changed. The pack howled, a deep, powerful sound that echoed into the night. Elias stepped closer, his hand lifted, cupping her face. Mine, he growled softly, and then he kissed her. Not gently, not carefully, but like something breaking free. The bond exploded. Energy surged through Kara's body. Her wolf roared to life. For the first time since the poison, she felt whole, complete, alive. Shift! Ula's command cut through everything. Kara didn't hesitate. Her wolf surged forward, bones cracked, reformed. Fur spread across her skin, white, bright. She stood on 4 legs now, smaller than most, faster, lean, but strong. Elias shifted beside her, a massive black wolf, twice her size, dominant, unquestioned. The entire pack followed, dozens of wolves surrounding them, howling under the moon. Elias approached her, slow, controlled, power radiating from every step. Kara's wolf lowered her head slightly, not in fear, in trust, in acceptance. He circled her, once, twice. Then, he claimed her. His jaws closed around her throat, gentle, but firm. The marking. Pain flared, sharp, burning. But beneath it, something deeper. Connection, belonging. His scent wrapped around her, embedded into her soul, permanent, unbreakable. When he released her, it was her turn. Kara stepped forward, and Elias did something rare, something sacred. He lowered himself, submitting. And Alpha, submitting. Only for a true mate. Kara's wolf moved carefully, her teeth finding the place where his neck met his shoulder. She bit, and the bond completed. Light flashed, silver, blinding. The connection snapped into place, perfect, absolute. When they shifted back, everything felt different, stronger, sharper, clearer. Kara looked at Elias, and this time, there was no distance, no hesitation, no doubt, just truth. You're mine, he said quietly. Kara stepped closer. And you're mine. The war hadn't started yet, but something else had. A bond, a partnership, a power that no one could break. And now, they would face the world together. Chapter 6. The night after the marking was not peaceful. There was no celebration, no rest, no quiet happiness, because both of them knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. War. Kara stood at the window of her new chambers. The title still felt unfamiliar. Luna Queen. The words carried weight, responsibility, power, but also target. Behind her, the door opened. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. You should be resting. Elias's voice. Calm, controlled. Kara let out a small breath. So should you. Silence. Then his footsteps. Slow, measured. He stopped beside her. Outside, snow fell softly over Thornridge. Peaceful, deceptive. They'll move soon, Elias said quietly. Kara nodded. Of course they will. Crescent Moon Pack wouldn't stay silent, wouldn't accept humiliation, wouldn't accept exposure. They'll try to discredit me, she said. Yes. They'll call me unstable. Yes. They'll say I'm lying. Elias turned slightly toward her. And that's why we don't give them the chance. The next morning, the war room filled. Stone walls. Maps spread across a massive table, marked with territories, alliances, enemies. Kara stood beside Elias, not behind him, not hidden, beside him. And that alone changed everything. The room fell silent when they entered. Warriors, advisors, leaders, all watching her now, not as an outsider, but as their Luna. Sit, Elias said. Everyone obeyed. The meeting began without delay. This is retaliation, one of the advisors said, pointing to the map. Crescent Moon won't wait for the council. They'll destroy evidence, another added. Silence witnesses. They already tried to kill me, Kara said calmly. The room stilled. No one argued that. They won't stop, she continued. Not until they're sure I can't speak. Elias's hand rested lightly on the table. Then we move faster. He looked around the room. We build our own case. Independent. Undeniable. Strong enough that even the council can't ignore it. And how do we do that? Jesse asked. Elias's gaze shifted to Kara. By using what they don't expect. All eyes turned to her. Kara took a breath, then spoke. We find witnesses. People they hurt. People they stole from. Her voice grew stronger. They think fear will keep them silent. So we remove the fear. And how do we do that? Someone asked. Elias answered this time. We offer protection. Sanctuary. The word echoed in the room. Sanctuary. Not just strategy, a promise. Kara stepped forward slightly. The carriage driver, she said suddenly. Elias looked at her. He drove us into the forest, she explained. He knows the route. He knows what Brent ordered. A witness, Jesse said. Yes. But he'll be afraid, another advisor added. Speaking against a beta means death. Not if he's under our protection, Elias replied. Kara nodded. Find him, she said. Bring him here. The discussion continued. Names, locations, possibilities. Then Luella spoke. What about Brent's mother? The room went quiet. Bridget Hunter, she continued. She's the real strategist. If Brent did this, she knew. Getting her to confess would be impossible, Jesse said. She's too careful. Too smart. Kara's mind raced. Then, an idea. Dangerous. Risky. But powerful. What if she thinks Brent already confessed? Silence. Elias turned toward her slowly. Explain. Kara stepped closer to the table. If she believes Brent is cooperating, that he's giving information to save himself, she'll panic. She'll try to protect herself. And when she does, she'll make a mistake. The room shifted. Interest. Recognition. Understanding. Elias studied her. Long. Carefully. You want to turn them against each other, he said. Kara met his gaze. Yes. A slow smile touched his lips. Rare. Impressed. Do it, he said. The plan was set in motion. Messengers sent. Search teams deployed. Spies activated. And Kara didn't stop. Days blurred together. Meetings. Strategy. Preparation. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about truth, justice, and something deeper. Something that had been taken from her. Her voice. One evening, Kara sat alone. Papers spread around her. Names. Accounts. Evidence. The scale of it all was overwhelming. So many victims. So much damage. So much silence. You don't have to carry it all. Elias's voice broke through her thoughts. She looked up. You're wrong, she said quietly. I do. He stepped closer. This isn't your burden alone. Kara shook her head. It is. she said. Because I saw it. I knew. And I almost stayed silent. Elias watched her, then spoke softly. But you didn't. That stopped her. You chose to fight, he continued. And that's what matters. Silence settled between them. But it wasn't heavy. Not anymore. You've changed, Elias said. Kara looked at him. So have you. A faint smirk. Doubtful. Before, Kara said slowly, you saw me as an asset. A pause. What do you see now? Elias didn't answer immediately. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the bond between them. Stronger now. Steady. Certain. My equal, he said finally. The words settled deep, stronger than any promise. Because this was no longer a deal. It was a partnership, and together they were about to bring down a pack. Chapter 7. The council hall was silent. Not the kind of silence that brought peace, but the kind that came before a storm. Hundreds of wolves filled the chamber. Alphas, betas, advisors, leaders from every territory, all gathered under one purpose: power, control, judgment. Kara stood just outside the massive doors, her heart steady, her breathing calm. But inside, she could feel it, the tension, the weight of what was about to happen. You don't have to do this. Elias's voice, low, close. She turned to him. For a moment, they weren't Alpha King and Luna Queen, just two people, standing at the edge of something dangerous. I do, she said, because this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone Brent had hurt, everyone he had silenced, everyone who never got the chance to speak. Elias studied her, then gave a small nod. Then we finish it. The doors opened, and the room turned, every eye fixed on them. Kara walked forward, beside Elias, not behind him. The shift in the room was immediate. Whispers, shock, recognition. She's alive. The Crescent Moon Bride? No, that's the Luna Queen. Kara ignored them, her focus locked ahead, at the raised platform, at the council, at Brent. He stood among the Crescent Moon delegation, frozen, his face pale, his eyes wide. For the first time, he looked afraid. Kara felt something stir inside her. Not fear, not weakness, justice. The council head rose. Alpha King Elias Collins, he announced. Luna Queen Kara Collins. The title echoed. Kara didn't react. But Brent did. His expression twisted. Because he understood now. She hadn't just survived. She had risen. This session is called to address allegations against Crescent Moon Pack, the council head continued. Murmurs spread through the hall. Tension built. And then, Elias stepped forward. The allegations are simple, he said. His voice carried, strong, controlled. Embezzlement, fraud, and attempted murder. The last words landed like a blow. The room erupted, voices rising, questions shouted. Order! The council head demanded. Slowly, the noise faded. Alpha Hunter stepped forward, Brent's father. This is outrageous, he said sharply. These are baseless accusations. Are they? Kara's voice cut through the room. Clear, steady, unshaken. Every head turned to her, and she stepped forward, alone. I was there, she said. Silence. I saw the records. I saw the stolen funds. I saw the names. Her voice didn't waver. Widows, orphans, elderly wolves. They trusted your pack, and you stole from them. Alpha Hunter's expression hardened. The word of one wolf isn't enough? Kara gestured, and the doors opened. They entered slowly, one by one. The victims, families, survivors, wolves who had nothing left to lose, and everything to say. The first stepped forward. My mate's pension was stolen, she said. Another. Our family funds disappeared. Another. They came for us when we asked questions. Story after story, truth after truth, each one heavier than the last. The hall fell silent, because this wasn't accusation anymore. It was proof. Brent shifted, uneasy, panicked, his control slipping. This proves nothing, Alpha Hunter snapped. These are lies. Then explain this. Elias stepped forward, documents in hand. Evidence, records, transfers, undeniable. The council head took them, reviewed them, and his expression changed, from doubt to anger. These are serious charges, he said slowly. Crescent Moon Pack will submit all records for investigation. No, the word came from Brent. Sharp, desperate. All eyes turned to him. I won't, he said. And then he shifted, mid-sentence, his wolf bursting free, launching toward the exit. Chaos erupted, but Elias moved faster, inhumanly fast. He shifted instantly, a massive black wolf, powerful, dominant, and he intercepted Brent. They collided. Fur, fangs, violence, a brutal fight, but it wasn't equal, not even close. Elias was stronger, faster, unstoppable. Within seconds, he had Brent pinned, jaws locked on his neck, one move away from death. The entire hall went still, because everyone understood this wasn't just dominance, this was judgment. Brent struggled, then went still. Submission. Elias held him there, just long enough to make it clear to everyone, then released him, shifted back, calm, controlled, as if nothing had happened. Beta Brent Hunter, Elias said. His voice echoed, attempted to murder my mate. A pause. By pack law, I have the right to claim blood justice. The words hung heavy, dangerous, absolute. The council head stepped forward quickly. Your Majesty, he said carefully, perhaps we should allow the investigation. I will, Elias interrupted, but understand this. His gaze swept the hall. If justice is not delivered, I will take it. Silence, deep, unshakable, because everyone believed him. Guards, the council head ordered. Detain Brent Hunter. Brent didn't resist this time. He couldn't, because he had already lost. Kara watched it all. The fall, the exposure, the justice, and for the first time, since the snow, she felt something settle inside her. Not relief, not peace, but closure. Elias stepped beside her, his presence steady, unyielding. It's not over, he said quietly. Kara nodded. I know, because this was just the first battle, and war was still coming, but this time, she wouldn't be alone. Chapter 8. Victory was never quiet. Not real victory, because when power is challenged, it doesn't disappear. It strikes back, harder, darker, more dangerous. 3 days after the council, the first attack came. It happened at night, when the world was supposed to be asleep, when guards were fewer, when shadows were deeper, and when fear could spread the fastest. A scream shattered the silence, sharp, terrified. Kara was awake instantly. Her body moved before her mind caught up. Training, instinct, survival. She was already on her feet when the second scream came. Closer. The door burst open. Luna! A guard, breathing hard, eyes wide. We're under attack. Outside. Chaos. Flames burned against the night sky. Smoke curled upward. Wolves ran, shouted, fought. And in the middle of it all, Kara stood still for 1 second. One, because this wasn't the snow. She wasn't weak. She wasn't dying. She was ready. Where? She demanded. The outer farms, the guard replied. Of course, not the fortress, not Thornridge itself. The weak points, the civilians, the message. They're targeting the people, Kara said. Yes, and suddenly, everything became clear. This wasn't war. Not yet. This was a warning. A message from Crescent Moon. You hurt us. We hurt you. Kara turned. Get the warriors moving, she ordered. Her voice didn't shake, didn't hesitate. Evacuate civilians first. Contain the fire. Do not chase. The guard blinked, surprised, then nodded. Yes, Luna. Kara moved forward, fast, focused. By the time Elias reached the courtyard, she was already there, already giving orders, already leading. For a moment, he just watched her. Not the girl he saved, not the survivor, but the Luna. What happened? He asked. Coordinated strike, Kara replied. Outer farms, civilians targeted. Elias's jaw tightened. They're escalating. Kara turned to him. No, she said quietly. They're desperate. Their eyes met. Understanding passed between them. This wasn't strength. This was fear. They want us to react, Elias said. Overextend. Make mistakes. Kara nodded. So we don't. The aftermath was worse than the attack, because this time there were faces, people, victims. Kara walked through the damaged farms, the smell of smoke still heavy in the air, burned wood, destroyed homes, a child crying, a woman clutching what remained of her belongings, an old wolf sitting silently, staring at nothing. Kara stopped, because suddenly it wasn't about Brent, it wasn't about revenge, it was about this, the innocent, the ones who always paid the price. Her chest tightened, and something inside her shifted again, deeper this time, stronger. We rebuild, she said, her voice quiet but firm. We protect them. We make sure this never happens again. Elias stepped beside her. You can't protect everyone, he said. Kara turned to him. No, she replied, but I can try. That night, the war room filled again, but this time, the tone was different, more tense, more urgent. They'll strike again, Jesse said. Different targets, different tactics. They're testing us, Luella added, looking for weakness. Kara stood at the table, looking at the map, thinking. They won't attack the same way twice, she said, so we don't defend the same way twice. All eyes turned to her. We expand patrols, she continued, not just around Thornridge, but beyond. We build safe zones, relocation points, sanctuary. The words settled into the room. Not just protection, Kara said. A system. Elias watched her, carefully, because this was new. You're thinking long term, he said. Kara nodded. They're not just our enemies, she said. They're a symptom. Silence. A broken system, she continued, where power protects itself and ignores the weak. Her voice hardened. I won't let that continue. Days turned into weeks, and the attacks continued, smaller, sharper, always testing, always probing. But this time, they were ready. Kara didn't just react. She built sanctuary zones, protected areas, places where wolves could go without fear. And they came from everywhere. Crescent Moon, other packs, Omegas, elderly, abandoned, all seeking one thing, safety. Kara met each one, spoke to them, listened, because she remembered what it felt like to be alone. You're safe here, she told them. And this time, it was true. Elias watched her, not just as his mate, but as something more, a leader. You're changing everything, he said one evening. Kara looked up from her work. No, she replied softly. I'm fixing what should have been right all along, but even strength has limits. One night, Elias found her still awake, working, exhausted. You need to rest, he said. I'm fine. You're not, Kara sighed. There's too much to do. Elias stepped closer. You can't save everyone if you break yourself. She looked at him, tired, but determined. Someone has to try. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, he pulled her closer, carefully, protectively. Then you won't do it alone, he said. And this time, she didn't argue, because she finally understood this wasn't just her fight, it was theirs. And together, they were building something stronger than war. Chapter 9. Power changes people, but not always in the way the world expects. Some become cruel, some become distant, some become everything they once feared. But Kara became something else. She became a voice. Months had passed since the first attack. The war hadn't ended, but it had changed. No longer open strikes, no longer reckless violence. Now, it was quieter, more calculated, political, because Crescent Moon had realized something. They couldn't win through force. Not anymore. Not against Thornridge. Not against Elias. And especially, not against Kara. Because while they were fighting battles, she was building something bigger, something stronger, something they couldn't destroy. The sanctuary. What began as protection had become a movement, a place where wolves came not just to survive, but to belong. Kara walked through the sanctuary wing slowly, her steps quieter now, more measured, not because she was weak, but because she was listening. A child laughed somewhere nearby, soft, free, a sound that didn't belong in war. And yet, here it was, alive. Kara paused, watching, a young Omega playing with another child, smiling. Safe. That's why we do this. Elias's voice came from behind her. Kara didn't turn. She didn't need to. I know, she said softly. He stepped beside her, looking at the same scene. You've built something extraordinary, he said. Kara shook her head slightly. No, she replied. They did. She gestured around them. The ones who survived. The ones who stayed. The ones who chose to believe this place could be different. Elias watched her, and for a moment, he didn't see a Luna Queen. He saw something more dangerous, someone who could change the world. The invitation came shortly after. The Interpact Council, a gathering of all leaders, all power, all influence, and this time, Kara wouldn't just attend. She would speak. You don't have to do this. The words sounded familiar. Elias stood across from her, watching, not commanding, not ordering, offering. Kara smiled faintly. You said that last time, and you didn't listen. No. Silence. Then, good, Elias said. The hall was larger than before, fuller, more wolves, more eyes, more judgment. But this time, Kara didn't hesitate. She didn't feel small. She didn't feel like the girl who once stood here, broken. She walked forward, confident, steady, unshaken. Luna Queen Kara Collins, the council head announced. The title echoed through the hall, and this time, she owned it. She stepped onto the platform, hundreds of eyes watching, waiting, judging, and for a brief moment, she remembered the snow, the cold, the silence, the feeling of being nothing. Then she felt it, the bond, Elias, standing behind her, steady, certain, believing in her, and she remembered something else, who she had become. Thank you, she began, her voice clear, strong. Not long ago, I was dying in the snow. The room stilled. No whispers, no movement, just silence. I had no power, no voice. No future. Her gaze swept the hall, and no one came. A pause. Then, one wolf did. Her eyes met Elias's. He chose to stop. He chose to help. And because of that, she stepped forward slightly. I'm standing here today. The weight of her words settled over the room. But this, she gestured around her, this isn't about me. It's about what happens to wolves who don't have someone to stop for them. Her voice hardened. Wolves who are ignored, discarded, silenced. She let the silence build, let them feel it. The sanctuary wasn't built on power, she said. It wasn't built on politics. It was built on one simple truth. Her voice rose. Every wolf deserves protection. Every wolf deserves dignity. Every wolf deserves a chance. The room shifted. Some nodded. Some frowned. Some resisted. Kara saw it all and continued. You call it weakness, she said. Compassion, protection, care. Her gaze locked onto several alphas. But I've seen what happens when you give wolves a chance. Warriors, healers, leaders. Strength doesn't come from fear. It comes from loyalty. And loyalty, her voice softened, is earned. Silence. Deep. Powerful. I'm not here to lecture you, she said. I'm here to challenge you. Her voice sharpened again. Look at your packs. How many are suffering in silence? How many feel abandoned? How many would run if they had somewhere to go? No one answered, because they didn't need to. They already knew. Kara stepped back slightly, her voice steady again. The old way is dying. Not because it was weak, but because it was wrong. And we have the power to build something better. She stopped and let the silence speak for her. For a moment, no one moved. Then, applause. Slow at first, then louder, stronger. Not from everyone, but enough. Enough to matter. Kara stepped down, her heart steady, her mind clear. Elias met her halfway, his eyes locked onto hers. You've just changed everything, he said. Kara shook her head. No, she replied softly. I just reminded them. That night, back in Thornridge, the sanctuary was full, alive, growing. Kara stood at the balcony, looking out, thinking. From the snow to this, from nothing to everything. And she realized something. This was never about revenge. It was about purpose, and she had found hers. Chapter 10. Time changes everything, but not always in the ways we expect. Some wounds fade, some scars remain, and some moments define everything that comes after. Years had passed. The snow still fell over Thornridge, soft, quiet, familiar, but it no longer felt cold, not the way it once had. Kara stood in the courtyard, watching, not as a survivor, not as a fighter, but as a queen. The sanctuary had grown. What once started as a single refuge had become something far greater, a system, a network, a promise. Wolves came from every territory, not just to escape, but to rebuild, to heal, to belong. Children ran freely through the courtyard. Laughter echoed where once there had been fear. Warriors trained beside former outcasts. Healers worked tirelessly, and no one was forgotten. Kara walked slowly through it all, not above them, among them. She greeted each wolf by name, remembered their stories, their struggles, their victories, because she had lived it. She had been them. Luna, the voice pulled her from her thoughts. She turned. Elias, standing just a few steps away. The same presence, the same power, but different, softer. War had changed him, but not broken him. You're thinking again, he said. Kara smiled faintly. I always am. He stepped closer, looking around the courtyard, at everything they had built. You did this, he said quietly. Kara shook her head. We did. A pause. Then, you made it matter. She looked at him, and for a moment, they were back there, in the snow, at the beginning, at the moment everything changed. You made a choice, Kara said softly. Elias frowned slightly. What choice? To stop. Silence. To check. To care. Her voice held something deeper now. Something stronger than emotion. Truth. That choice saved my life, she said. Elias exhaled slowly. I didn't think about it, he admitted. Kara smiled. That's what makes it matter. Because sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest weight. A soft sound interrupted them. A child's laughter. Kara turned. A young girl ran across the courtyard. Free, happy, safe. She reminds me of you, Elias said quietly. Kara raised an eyebrow. Running around causing trouble? A faint smirk. No. He stepped closer, surviving when she shouldn't have. Kara's expression softened. She won't have to survive like I did, she said. Elias nodded. Because of you. Later that day, a delegation arrived. Leaders from other packs, observers, curious, skeptical. They walked through the sanctuary, saw the systems, the structure, the unity, and slowly, something changed. Respect. Kara stood before them, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a leader. This is what we built, she said, her voice calm. Not out of power, but out of necessity. She gestured around her. These wolves weren't weak. They were abandoned. A pause. And now, they're stronger than ever. The leaders exchanged glances. Because they could see it, feel it. This wasn't just an idea. It worked, one of them said. Kara shook her head. No, she replied. I changed the perspective, because strength was never about domination. It was about protection. That night, Kara stood alone again, at the edge of the forest, the same kind of forest, where everything had begun. Snow fell softly, just like before. She closed her eyes and remembered the pain, the cold, the silence, the moment she thought it was over. And then, the moment everything changed, a single decision, a single act, and how it had led to all of this. Footsteps approached. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. Elias stopped beside her. You come here often, he said. Kara nodded. It reminds me. Of what? She opened her eyes, looking out at the snow. Of who I was. A pause. And who I chose to become. Elias studied her. You were never weak, he said. Kara smiled slightly. Maybe not. A beat. But I was alone. She turned to him. I'm not anymore. The bond between them pulsed. Strong, steady, unbreakable. Elias reached for her hand. And this time, there was no hesitation. Never again, he said. And she believed him. Because this wasn't just a story about survival. It was a story about choice. About what happens when someone decides to care, when someone refuses to look away, when someone chooses to stand. And because of that choice, a girl who should have died in the snow became a queen, a leader, a symbol, a legacy. And that legacy would outlive them both. Because long after the wars ended, long after the names faded, there would still be wolves, standing in the light, safe, strong, free, all because someone chose to stop. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If this quiet moment stayed with you, if you felt even a small connection to this world, then maybe you're meant to stay a little longer. There are more stories waiting, more emotions to explore, and more hidden moments just like this one. If you'd like to go deeper, you can find exclusive content, bonus chapters, and extended episodes right here on the channel. Your support truly means everything. It helps bring these stories to life. So take a second to subscribe, stay close, and be part of this journey. And until then, I'll see you in the next story.